All right, man. Today I want to talk about some shit I find really interesting that I feel like a lot of people always wonder about. And I feel like a lot of people have these thoughts, but people don't have the courage to speak out about it. So the purpose is for me to speak what people are thinking. And this topic is about God. You know, when we think about God, there's so many different fucking religions and truths, and people think it's some big guy that lives in the sky that's going to fly down and save us all from our sins and from all the evil in the world one day. And it gets really confusing when you try to find out what the truth is, right? I was personally born into a Christian family. And since I was a kid, I was always told go to church, pray, be a good Catholic, be a good person. And one day, you'll make it to heaven. And if you're a bad person, you're going to go to hell, you know. So, for a long time, I was always told to fear God, fear being a bad person, fear doing evil things. And to a certain extent, I agree with it. You know, you shouldn't want to be a bad person. You shouldn't want to do fucked up things. But one thing that really stood out to me was, why should I fear God? I didn't really understand that. And so maybe it's because you need to fear the consequences. Maybe to fear what may happen to you if you don't obey Him. I don't know. That's one of the main questions I had. I didn't really understand it. And so every time I would do something that was considered bad, I had a lot of shame. I had a lot of guilt because I'm like, fuck, God's gonna think I'm such a bad person. Oh my God, God's gonna burn me to death. I'm gonna go to hell. All these fucked up thoughts I was thinking, you know. And I didn't really know who to talk to about these ideas and these thoughts. So I just grew up, kept growing and thinking. And I had my own doubts. I had my own thinking, and that's another thing that happened too. Don't doubt. Don't question God. And I always found this strange. And so, of course, growing up in the city I grew up in was very diverse, very multicultural. So there's a lot of different ethnic backgrounds, a lot of religious backgrounds. So I was fortunate enough to have different friends with different views. And, you know, speaking to different people like Muslims, Jews, Hindus, Buddhists, the one thing that always stood out to me is, why are people so convinced that their truth is the truth? You know? And what do I mean by this? I had a very good Muslim friend. And as he was progressing to strengthen his faith, he told himself, or rather, he believed that his religion was the religion, it was the truth. His, in the eyes of God, in the eyes of Allah, it was perfect. And he's entitled to his belief 100%. But the one thing I did find a bit weird was when he said that his Christian grandfather, because he was a good man of faith, a good man of character, but he happened to be Christian, he said sadly he would burn and die in heaven, in hell, because he was a Christian. And this is one thing that I was like, what? And this always stood out to me because growing up, there was so much tension, so much arguments within my community, within my school, even online. Most wars we see in history are mainly because of religion, because of differentiation within people's beliefs. They say, no, I am a Christian. You cannot be associated with me if you're not Christian. No, I'm a Muslim. If you're not Muslim, I'm gonna have to kill you. Or you can't fuck with me. No, I'm Jewish. Nothing but Judaism is permitted here. If you don't associate with us, we kill you. And so, obviously, I'm dramatizing things. But the point I'm trying to make is that in their ideologies, separately, in all these different entities of what we call religions, their truth was the truth, the absolute truth. But it's like they condemned anything besides them. It's kind of like absolutism or a cult, even. And it sounds very bold of me to say the word cult. But to my definition, a cult is just something that's very extreme that you must follow. If not, you die. That's my definition. And so this always made me question what they're teaching about. And a lot of them have a lot of similarities, like be a good person, follow morals, do not kill, do not steal, do not rape, which we can all agree is the base of morality and being a good person. So they have very good belief systems, very good doctrines and rules and laws, right? But the one thing that always stood out again is a separation. They always have to separate. They say, you cannot be with us, you cannot be with us. Why? And this is what pushed me on my journey to just understand and learn about different religions. And for years, man, I did my own fucking research on all kinds of religions because I didn't want to follow blindly into something that I was born into. My grandfather told me, this is the truth, follow this. And I did that for a long time. And it didn't feel fulfilling because I knew this is not something that I genuinely know is the truth. And it made me question myself. How do how does anybody know what the truth is? How do you know that your belief is the truth? How do I know that my religion is the truth? How do you know that yours is the truth? Unless you have experienced it, you would never know, right? Unless God Himself came down in front of your face and said, listen to me right now, Christianity is a religion to follow. But I do not think this is the case of the grand majority of people, right? So what I've understood is people are following other people. And so this is called belief because they believe this to be the truth. However, they do not know it is the truth, right? So again, it's all perception. That's the biggest thing that I've understood. It's all perception because what you perceive to be true will be your truth. However, what another person may perceive to be truth will be his truth. Perfect example of this is a person that's colorblind. Look at the sky. Me and you, or any person with regular vision, would see that the sky is blue, right? But to a person who is colorblind and he has never experienced the color blue, how can he possibly know that this thing in the sky is blue? In his reality, that is not a possibility. That's not a part of his perception. Therefore, the color blue is not real. It's not existing, right? So, does this mean that his reality is false? Whether ours is real? How do we know which is the truth? And so, again, it comes to the point of saying that that is his perception, that is his reality, that blue does not exist. So, no matter how much we describe to him, blue looks like this, it looks like that. It's similar. Like no matter how much you try to quantify or qualify what it may look like, we could never ever ever experience. No, sorry, we could never ever explain something to someone who has never experienced the color blue, right? Therefore, he will never ever understand until he has seen the color. This is the same understanding I got for religion, for God. No matter how much someone preaches something, no matter how many books you may read within faith, it's just belief. You will never, ever, ever, ever know until you die and have experienced the truth. So, how will you ever know that your religion is the truth? You cannot. And this led me to understand that it doesn't mean everything is fake and everything is a lie. No. Simply, what it told me is that they are all simply truths. One version of the truth, like a puzzle piece, right? So, let's say, I don't know, there's 5 pieces to the puzzle. These religions are simply pieces of the puzzle that you must complete, put together, and they lead to one global truth. So, yes, Christianity may be the truth, Islam may be the truth, Buddhism, all these different things may have one truth, but they are not the truth. This is my understanding of it. And so now I'm not here to come and push my belief, my ideologies on people to say, yo, fuck, come listen to me. I'm not some guru, bro. I'm not some Buddha. I'm not some person that needs to be idealized for my views. I'm simply a person that I have my thoughts, my ideas, and if there's people that agree with me, tell me how you think. But this is how I believe things to be. I truly do believe that it is just fragments of the truth. And how I came to this conclusion is think about just religions as a global scale, right? People always say, oh, my religion's the oldest. Okay, let's say we track back. Let's say we go back 10,000 years. That's one of the most oldest religions we're traced back to. But how old is the earth? The earth is about billions, couple billions of years old. I don't know the exact date, but it's in the billions, billions of fucking years old. So the person who lived billions of fucking years ago, what did he believe in? Like clearly this topic of faith in God has been existing for all this time because they always have some kind of traces within history where they're worshiping something, whether it be I don't know, a rain god or a sun god, or the goddess of harvest, the goddess of wine. Look at ancient Greece. They had gods for everything and within nature. And you had ancient Egypt, where they had gods for every single thing, again, within nature. So, how do you know that their truth is not the truth and our truth is the truth? We will never know. We will never know, right? So, there's so many different belief systems that have been existing way before any of us have been existing. Way before this fucking earth was conceived, there was probably people, like organisms, believing in something. We will never know the truth. But people are still killing each other and fighting over, no, this is my truth. My God is better than your God. How the fuck do you know that, bro? How do you know this? And so it's funny because people are so deluded in proving something is truth when they don't actually know. And even when you have different people experiencing mystical experiences, right? They see an angel come down to them, or a spirit bestows knowledge to them. And then they say, Huzzah, I know everything. But again, to me, it's still a fragment of the fucking truth, right? He's interpreting that knowledge from whatever entity, whatever being. And so now he's integrating it, repeating it to his people and saying, guys, look, this is the interpretation I got. But again, it's a fragment. If you think logically, right, every religion agrees on one thing, that God is beyond understanding. God is mysterious. We will never ever conceptualize how he is, what he is, right? And so, thinking that logically, how could we possibly put God into a box of one religion, right? Or even one interpretation from a mystical being? Therefore, this has to be a fragment. Because if something that is omnipotent and beyond our understanding, if he was to present himself and tell you the truth about everything, do you think your little fucking brain can handle it? Fuck no. Your brain would be like busted and broken. That's the truth. Yeah. Malia's old bike. Malia's old bike. Yeah. Why? You can't use that bike. It's too small. Oh, okay, okay. So yeah, bro. Just think logically again. If such a thing that we can't even put the tip of our finger on was to present itself into us or in front of us, how do you think your meager brain could handle it? You'd probably die on the spot, knowing or receiving this information. You can't handle it. It's just the truth. Because the truth is beyond our understanding. We will never understand anything beyond the scope of what is in front of us, right? There's certain things we just cannot understand. And this is what we come to accept. The reason people pursue and try to understand things is because it's in our nature. We're curious. We want to know. And the fact that we don't know, we will never know. It excites us to know more, right? So this is my perception. Does this mean don't try to understand it all? No. But also it means don't try to understand everything and try to conceptualize what is the actual truth because you will never know. And again, this is my interpretation of why there's so much people that are actually crazy in the world. Like you see people are schizophrenic, psychotic. It's very possible these people are just more spiritual than they could possibly handle. Like they probably received information or opened different channels within their body spiritually that they could not process. And the information was too powerful for their mind, and their mind was too sensitive to receive that. You know, that's what they say, oh, I see spirits, I see ghosts, I hear sounds. It's very real. The spiritual realm fucking exists, bro. So, what does this tell us? Again, certain things are just not meant to be known. Because if you were to know that everywhere around us there's fucking spirits roaming around, you would be scared shitless all the time, right? If you could see them. So some people prefer to stay in ignorance. So they say ignorance is bliss. So pick your poison. Do you want to know the truth or you want to be ignorant? So the point I was trying to make, let's come back to the original point, is God, right? So much war, so much argument over something that no meager human mind can ever conceptualize. So why, again, do people fight? Why do people argue over this shit? Their own books, their own faiths say that we should not war, we should not fight, we should not separate. We all should be one, harmony. This is every religion, they talk about peace, love. Yet they go against their own doctrines to prove that their book or their religion or their God is the truth. So you need to understand that when you talk to people like this, if you know the truth yourself, which is you don't know the truth, that is the real truth, you do not know. There's no point in arguing because some people are so convinced out of fear because they understand that, holy shit, I don't know what the fuck the truth is. Let me just settle and say this is the truth because it makes me feel more whole, it makes me feel confident. Because that's how humans are. Some humans don't want to accept that they just don't know shit. It's scary to know that you're living life and you don't know anything. You're like lost. But this is the basis of liberation that they talk about, mainly in Hinduism and Buddhism, because it's more connected to spirituality. The fact that God is just a flow. Once you surrender yourself to the flow, once you just accept that you do not know, that at any moment anything could happen, instead of worrying and understanding that you cannot understand, you are free, right? So there's no such thing as the truth or one truth. There's simply different versions of the truth. The same way that I'm coming here and conveying my truth. This is my belief. It does not mean that this has to be your truth or your belief, right? I'm not coming here preaching and saying, yo guys, this is my view. Come and listen to me. Follow me. This is this is what a lot of men do, a lot of humans do because they want to play God. They want to say, listen, this is the greatest belief of all time. Follow me and I will lead you to liberation. Follow me and I'll lead you to peace. And this has been existing since the dawn of time. You see different great leaders that quite literally play God. Like, so to me, the truth would only come to you from inwards. From understanding yourself, you understand God. Now, what do I mean by this? Okay, this video, this information that I'm conveying right now, it's not something that I scripted. It's not something that right now I'm looking at a page. This is something that just flew through me. It's like I channeled the information, right? Before this video, I was literally just in the garden, cleaning up, gardening, doing different work. And I've always noticed that whenever I immerse myself within nature, it's almost as though nature starts speaking through me. It's almost as though I start to empty myself of my thoughts, and because I'm so present in something that is so close to God. Because look at creation, everything is nature, right? Mother Earth. And so at that moment, I am kind of emptying myself. Now I can receive, I can channel the essence of God. And this is where I understand that God speaks through us. God can work through us. This is where you get those moments of inspiration. People say they have these crazy moments where they have the greatest ideas of their lives. And then, you know, you put it into work. Next year, you act on that moment and your entire life changes. But understand that inspiration is merely God whispering in your ear. God is coming in a form that you will never understand again because he's not going to happen in some big moment. And it's one thing I've noticed. People think that fucking God is going to be some crazy mystical experience, spiritual awakening, ego death, like they talk about on TV. But I've noticed that it's just bits and pieces, little moments like where it'll present itself to you. Same thing that in this moment, I was just gardening. And it's like a little voice whispered in my ear. And I started hearing the idea, started hearing the thoughts. And because it already aligned with my thoughts and my ideas beforehand, it was speaking through me, through my own beliefs. And so I presented myself in this video because it told me, go make the video, talk about this. And it sounds weird to those who do not understand where I'm coming from, to those who have never experienced this kind of circumstance or inspiration. But to those who have, they call that intuition, they call that inspiration, they call that motivation, whatever it may be. But this is to me what God is. Just a force. It's a flow of energy. Like a TV, you tune yourself to the right TV station, now you receive information. It's the same thing with this, bro. When you open yourself to a different channel of receiving energy, receiving information, this is what God flows in. All right. So yeah, man, this is my I would say this is my greatest understanding, that once you open yourself and realize that all your wisdom comes from within, that your relationship with yourself is the same relationship you have with God. And I started to notice this when I started being truer to myself, when I started learning about myself, what I like to do, what I want to do. It's almost as though God rewards you. Because think about it naturally, right? God doesn't want you to fake. He doesn't want you to pretend. So he wants you to be authentic. He wants you to be yourself. He wants you to do what makes you happy, right? And so the more you start acting within your own desires, the more you start acting on what makes you happy, being your true self, that shit will just flow through you like you snap your finger, and then you'll start receiving information. You'll start receiving intuition or whatever you may call it, and then he'll just reward you. You start putting in the work towards a certain idea you think you received out of nowhere. You act on a certain interest, something that you hold dear to your heart, and it just works. You receive random success, random fucking whatever it may be that intrinsically looks rewarding on the outside. People may think that's random, but to me, this is what it means to channel the energy of God, because you're simply acting on His highest desire, which is your own highest desire. And this is what I mean by it's internal. So the more you understand yourself, the more you can somewhat understand the information of God. You know, and I think this is why in a lot of spiritual based practices they focus on stillness, because in stillness you can hear the silent voice within yourself. You can hear your true voice. You can hear your real thoughts. You can hear your insecurities. And within these things, excuse me, there's like little gold nuggets of truth within them. And so the more you open your ears to hearing the inner voice, the more you start hearing that inner voice that feeds you truth, that feeds you information, that feeds you knowledge. This is why you see a lot of people, they go for walks, they go for showers, they hang in nature. Next, you know, they have crazy inspirational ideas that change their life. So, this is my interpretation. You have to empty yourself to first channel the information, to channel the energy of God. You know, strange, really. Damn, all this talking is making me fucking tired. Made my voice tired, but I actually appreciate making these videos, conveying my truth. Because to me, man, there's no purpose of receiving information if you cannot share with others and cannot help others.